everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host for today. We are talking UFC Shanghai, headlined by Umar Nurmagomedov and Song Yadong. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. Now, last weekend did not go well. It was the first loss that we have felt in a while. This summer has been absolutely amazing, but it didn't pan out last Saturday, where our big play was on Fluffy Hernandez. Really a weird card overall. I mean, Fluffy ends up getting out cardioed against Rodriguez, who normally gets cardioed out. We have Kenny Nzechukwu fighting with his hands down at heavyweight. Very stupid. Larry and Douglas gets knocked out. Just a very strange set of events there. But hey, listen, we have not felt too many losses here this summer over the last 2 months. Now, we have cashed 7 of the last 9 UFC events. We're on a 23-7 betting run. So we got to jump back on the horse and look to fire for this weekend. So I already have a 4% play locked in for clients. Take a look if you want to become a client. And with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Umar Nurmagomedov and Song Yadong. Now, we've got Umar sitting at -500 in the comeback here. We have Song Yadong +380. Now, we've got Umar here, who is an elite level wrestler with incredible grappling. Now, you look at that last name, you know exactly what you're going to get. Just relentless wrestling, high-level wrestling, staying in your face, looking for those takedowns, looking to bank time in top position, win position, dictate the pace, really grind out your opponent, look for those finishes if you can, and that's really how Umar's found a lot of success. And he is a good minute winner as well. He's a guy that can really control the action, win those minutes. He's 11-1 to the decision, so it's a guy that absolutely can go out there and look for those takedowns. Now, you've got on their side here Song Yadong, who is fighting on home soil, which is a big spot for him here, fighting on the main event. He has fought in China, obviously, before, but this is, again, a very big spot in his career. He is a well-rounded fighter with very good boxing, and that's really his edge in most of his fights, where he's fast, explosive, athletic, crisp boxing with some power in his hands. He's going to come forward, those quick combinations, stay in your face, throw those big boxing combinations here. He also, he's fighting, training at Team Alpha Male, which is a very good wrestling camp, and he's improving that. He's kind of trying to improve some of the offensive wrestling, the defensive wrestling that he does have, but overall, he throws good volume and has that good boxing. Now, obviously, the main path to victory here is absolutely going to be the wrestling here for Umar. I'm not telling you something you guys don't know here, but currently Song does have a 73% takedown defense rate. That's pretty solid overall, but opponents that have wanted to take him down were able to take down Song Yadong, and those were the fights that Song was losing. Now, Kyler Phillips, 3 takedowns, Cody Stamann, 5 takedowns, Peter Yan, 2 takedowns, and that threat, of takedowns, I think is, what makes, I think, at times, Song timid. If he's not the guy that has that wrestling edge, has that physicality, looking for those takedowns, can mix in the boxing and then mix in the takedowns. If he's not the guy that can do that, and he's the one worrying about the takedowns, I think that's where his opponent can kind of take over the fight. And that's one thing about Song, is he's not a good minute winner. He needs to really have these big moments. He needs to have a knockdown, have a knockout, have a big, bruise his opponent up, bust him open. He needs these big things to happen, because he doesn't really win minute after minute, because he's either not letting his hands go as much, or he's not winning positionally here. He's 10-6 to the decision here. While I said, Umar 11-1 to the decision here. And Song, I think, again, is going to struggle exploding forward, worrying about those takedowns. There will be takedown openings here. He can't march forward, throw those big combinations. He has to worry about those takedowns. And that's the thing here. Now, if Song is going to worry about letting his hands go, that is his main weapon, is his boxing. So if he starts to become timid here in the pocket, that can open up shots here for Umar as well, opening up shots for the takedowns. I think Umar's striking is improving a little bit as well too. So that can kind of help him, where he's got a nice kicking arsenal and kind of mixing those in with those takedowns. But, although, Umar has some of those weapons, he's pretty much been a decision fighter, over the last few years here. He's been a guy that's looking for those takedowns and been more controlling the action. 5 of his last 6 victories are by decision. The only one in there that wasn't a decision was the knockout win over Raoni Barcelos, which was, kind of I wouldn't say a fluke, but he kind of came forward, threw a big overhand, and then ended up, blitzing forward and then knocked him out. But I think Song is a durable guy here. He's only been knocked out twice, never been submitted. I think it's going to be tough, for Umar to find that finish here. So I lean towards this being more towards a decision here. You got Umar, who's -500 here. You got the decision at -150. I think that is a great price here at this point here. So give me Umar Nurmagomedov by decision, -150. And the next one you're going to talk about is going to be Asakura. He is minus 500 on the comeback here. We've got Aoriqileng. He is plus 340. Now, you got Asakura here who is an elite level striker with big time power. He has incredibly fast developing combinations. That is his big weapon. His combinations just really develop incredibly fast. He's got that power that backs it up. He's going to have a very dynamic type of striking arsenal here. He's got some good kicks, good punches up top. He has explosive knees. He's dynamic. He just really brings a lot to the table here. And not only that, but he also is going to stay in your face and force you to deal with his striking, right up close, up and tight. And, his footwork's good. His footwork's good. His distance management is good, but he really likes to get in your face and just let his hands go. While Aoriqileng on our side here is a striker who's also willing to brawl. This is a guy that, likes to exchange in the pocket. We'll look to mix it up. We'll look to throw. We'll look to, mix it up. But the thing about that is that he can be very, very reckless, very, very wild. And once he starts getting going here, that is where sometimes he can be vulnerable and exposing himself here. He is coming off a recent knockout loss to Cody Haddon in the second round. Now, this to me is a very straightforward fight. Both guys are primarily strikers, and it's going to play out on the feet. And you've got to give a massive advantage here to Asakura. I think he is the far more technical striker between these two, more cleaner combinations, faster developing hands, big time power, accurate striking. I just don't really see where Aoriqileng is going to find success in the pocket. And even if he looks for takedowns, as I said, those explosive knees that he does throw, Asakura could land something. Those step-in knees that he does have, I think are going to really, they might land here if he's looking for takedowns, because that is something that is a perceived vulnerability here on the Asakura side, is going to be the takedown defense. And I think it's a little bit, overstated there, because the two guys that took him down are very strong wrestlers and have very good grappling. And, you look at the two, it's Pantoja, who's, one of the GOATs of the division, former champion. He went 3 for 7 on takedowns and then submitted Asakura. Tim Elliott, a very strong wrestler, went 2 for 3 on takedowns and ended up subbing Asakura. Those fighters are far beyond Aoriqileng's wrestling. It's just another stratosphere where those guys are. Now, Tim Elliott obviously isn't some elite level fighter, but he's a strong wrestler. He is a, UFC caliber fighter, a longtime UFC vet, and he just took the path of least resistance and sold out. And his wrestling, again, is much, much better than Aoriqileng. Plus, you look at Aoriqileng, he only has 7 takedowns in the UFC. 5 of those were in the first 3 fights in the UFC, which were back in 2021 and 2022. The last takedown that he landed was 5 fights ago in 2023. So I don't expect him to all of a sudden turn into a Nurmagomedov and just find a ton of success on takedowns. I think that Asakura moving up in weight, I think is going to help him here. He has shown that he can have some power at this division as well here. And I think that he's going to be able to sprawl ball and able to land those big, big time shots here. So give me Asakura, but give me Asakura by knockout inside the first 2 rounds. That can get us minus 115 price tag. I absolutely love that price tag here. I think that if he's going to win, it's going to be within those first 2 rounds, and he's going to be aggressive and he's going to hunt for it because he doesn't have to worry about the takedowns as much, and he can let those hands go. So give me Asakura by knockout in rounds 1 or rounds 2 by knockout. I already said that. Minus 115. And the next one here we're going to talk about is going to be Xiaanon. She is minus 145 on the comeback here. We have Denis Gomes. She is plus 125. Now, I've got Yan here, who is a well-rounded fighter with a ton of UFC experience. Her strength of schedule is very, very strong. She has fought high-level females, throughout the last few years. And, she's won some, she's lost some, but she is losing to high-level opposition. Her 4 losses inside the UFC, 2 of them were former champions, and 2 of them were top females in the division at that time. She did, let's include that she did go out there and beat the current champion, Mackenzie Dern, a few years back as well. So that's a nice feather in her cap. But you've got Yan, who has nice striking overall and some good volume. Where we've got Gomes on the other side here, who is a young, rising prospect here, 26 years old. She does have some big-time power, and she's going to look to come forward and be very, very aggressive. Stay in your face, throw those big hooks, march forward, swinging hard shots. And, she likes to be the bully, move forward, and really, try to, bulldoze her way forward. She's 26 years old, so you're going to see improvements, especially at this age. You're going to see those improvements. You've got Jan, who is 37 years old, and that's a big gap here. And there's going to be worry about the age, and I think that is the concern. But I think that's also why money has come in on Gomes throughout. You're seeing this line get tighter here. Jan is being a shorter favorite here, and I can see why, because of the age. But if you just look at skill for skill between these two, Jan is far better in pretty much most areas. I think by far, I think she's the far more polished striker between these two. I think she sets up her combinations far better. She pushes out really good volume. And I think Gomes on your side here, she's a good hammer, but if she can't get that going, I think she's going to struggle a little bit. I think she's going to be very uncomfortable if Jan is able to kind of, move around, bounce around, and be the one moving forward, landing the cleaner shots, pushing the pace a little bit while Gomes is throwing these big overhands and missing or not really landing. That's going to be a big issue for her here. And I think that's where you're going to see opportunities for Jan to push the pace, land the cleaner shots, and start to pick up those rounds. Now, the big vulnerability on her side is the fact that Jan, she can be taken down. The takedown defense is a little bit suspect. And again, this is something that, is a perceived vulnerability for her. But again, you look at who has taken her down, and it's elite level fighters, far better than Denis Gomes. And you've got, some of the females that have taken her down that were the reason why we're talking about how vulnerable her takedown defense is, her last fight against Verna Jandiroba, 3 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time on Jan. But, Verna is a high-level wrestler, a very strong wrestler, a very strong grappler. She is great with her top control. I mean, that's a great matchup for Verna, where she's able to work the takedowns, go against a striker, and wet blanket her for 3 rounds. Weili Zhang, you might have heard of her. GOAT of the division, GOAT female fighter, former champion, had 6 takedowns with 13 minutes of control time. But that's a former champion. And then Carla Esparza, another former champion. She had 3 takedowns with 8 minutes of control time. But that's a former champion who is a lifelong wrestler. And none of them are Gomes. Gomes is, again, she is starting to improve. She started to add wrestling into her game. She's doing those things, but I don't really put her near any one of those females. And I think that this is really a big step down. Although Gomes, I think, can be something. She definitely has the pieces. She's definitely a raw talent here, but at 26 years old, it might be too much for her here at this spot. And, I think that Jan can defend the takedowns, work from the outside, push out that good volume, steer clear of the danger. And I think this is a levels fight. I think that Jan is just levels above Gomes at this point here. So money is coming in on Gomes here, shorting this line here. But at this price tag, give me Yan Xiaonan here to get the job done at -145. And the next one we're talking about is going to be Sean Woodson. He is -145 in the comeback here. We've got Jack Jenkins, he is +120. Now you got Woodson here, who is a rangy striker with good boxing. This is a guy that is absolutely massive for the division here. He is pretty much has a height and reach advantage over everyone that he faces in this fight on Saturday. He's going to have a 10-inch reach advantage and a 7-inch height advantage. And he is a very smooth technical boxer, pushes out good volume, has some good footwork, good at range. He's 8-2-1 in the UFC. Only losses are to Julian Rosa, which was very early in his UFC career, and most recently Dan Ige, which was a very competitive fight up until that 3rd round. Now, you got Jenkins here, who is a well-rounded fighter who has very good low kicks, and that really is where it's going to make or break Jenkins at this point here, because this is a guy who will absolutely spam low kicks. He will chop at the leg. If he's got the opportunity, he's going to be repetitive with it. He has multiple victories. Winning by leg kick. He's, I think, busted up a couple guys' legs, broke some guys' legs. So he will just chop away. And there is going to be opportunities here, for him, where those long legs of Woodson are going to be there to be hit, it is going to be a very big target for him here. So there can be that advantage. But on the feet overall, I think Woodson is just a far better striker. And as I said before, the size advantage, reach advantage is going to be very obvious here in this fight. And I think he could leverage that reach, but also on top of that, he's going to be able to really be the better boxer. So a lot of times there's guys that have this reach advantage that don't know what to do with it. They don't really utilize it well. they're getting too in tight, and they're giving their opponent more of an advantage here, where they're not really leveraging that reach, getting those shots out, getting those long rangey shots out. And that can be, maybe a problem for him here. But I do think that this is a spot here that you've got Woodson, who that long jab that he has is going to just struggle for Jack to cut that distance and get those kicks going, get those leg kicks going. He throws a lot of naked leg kicks at times too, where, I just think Woodson's going to be able to jab his face off and land those straight shots. He's going to have to cut that 10-inch reach advantage. It's going to be very difficult for him to kind of do here, where, the footwork and the angles at which Woodson works, I think it's going to be very difficult here. And also, I think if Jack doesn't get those leg kicks going, I don't know where else he goes here. Is he going to clinch up with him? I don't think he finds success there. Is he going to get takedowns? I don't really think so. I don't think that's where he's going to find success. And then he's going to really be stuck boxing, pretty much with Woodson, because there's going to be the leg kick opportunity, but I just think that he's going to be out of that range here. He's going to struggle cutting that distance. He's going to be vulnerable when he's getting inside that range, and what Woodson's going to be able to land on him. And I just don't really see where he finds his success here. I think that Jack is going to struggle, doesn't have good boxing, but really will have to lean on those leg kicks here. But I think at this price tag here, I like Sean Woodson here. I think the boxing is going to be way too much. You're going to piece him up. He probably wins by decision here, by a clean decision here. But give me Sean Woodson money line, -145 to get the job done. So you have it for my plays for UFC Shanghai. If you want to become a client, link in the description. Again, I already have a 4% play locked in for clients, and we've got a couple more events before we have a break here. We want to finish strong here in this summer. It's been absolutely amazing. Catch 7 of the last 9 events, so we got to keep it rolling here. Big bounce back spot. Let's get it done. I'll see you next week, and let's cash.